has a really good tennis match
Hey,
going.
Lee, new phone number for me on the contact sheet there. A new phone number for me on the contact sheet, because you're.
Here, I'll write it down for him. How's that?
It's fireball just hitting the crap.
Might be simpler.
Haven't followed tennis at all.
And they're both quick. They cover the court crazy.
And your apartment number 2. Got that too.
One of the things that is disappointing, Coco. Watch her play.
Didn't watch any of it.
Excuse
Don't follow
something that
tennis.
he was.
You know, on your contact sheet, you can probably get rid of the 723 number.
Cross that off for you. Well, all kinds of edits today.
I guess so.
But thanks for putting it together.
Well, I can update it. I don't know how to update it unless I really give it to everybody and go, okay, and then you go look at it and go, this isn't right, so.
I appreciate having that.
Which number did
I'll send a new one once I get it updated.
get rid of his work number?
Get it, apparently he's not at work anymore.
Cute little thing.
Must be retired.
Totally different than that one. Just Mark if he was still married or if it was such a total shock that he was.
Still married,
Still married?
as far as I know.
As of this morning, you were still married?
Yes. Unless something's changed since.
Let's
this
come to
morning.
order. We have a roll call.
Bill Connor,
Here.
Ron Humboldt,
Here.
Catherine Kenny,
Present.
Angie Quinn,
Here.
Thad Taylor, Dennis Otto,
Here,
Lee Trucks,
Here. Approval of agenda.
So moved.
It's been moved and supported to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is approved. Conflict of interest, are there any conflict of interest going on? Hearing nothing, we'll go to approval of minutes. We don't have seen the minutes and
Motion to approve.
Support.
moved and supported to approve the minutes of the last meeting. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Minutes are approved. Public comment on agenda-related items. Public looks fairly sparse today. New business, 343 River Street, Goodies, Juice, and Java.
And if I may interrupt on this one, I do want to say that something that I had missed was that this was administratively approved by Mark Fetter. So the commission does not necessarily need to take action on this item. I apologize for that. I was moving too quickly with putting together this agenda packet. So that one is approved. We wanted to leave it on the agenda so that it was addressed during this meeting, but the commission does not have to take action on this new business item.
And if you have gone by the Goodies, you'll see that the sign is there and it looks good.
Oh, it's up?
Yes.
Yeah. Old business, 235 River Street,
Yeah.
wrong address.
Was that incorrect? Sorry, I flip-flopped those on a couple of them. Is it 435 is the correct address? Let's see. Yes, 435. I apologize for that. So Joseph Mathewson did come into my office yesterday, and he is here. So there we go. Perfect time.
Made it all the way from Bear Lake on empty and no cops pulled me over.
So we have moved on to the old business section of the agenda, and they're on your item. So Yes, if you have materials, I can help you put those out if you'd like.
Yeah.
Not sure.
So these are the colors of all my bricks. You know, a rust and an orange, kind of red rust and orange rust. And what I think would look really nice on there is, it looks bad. It's like a ghetto, sorry. You know, against all that red brick, and a lot of people have this around town, is real cedar. So there's cedar shingles for siding or for your roof. These are for both. So I've stained this cedar to kind of give you a color of the brick, kind of happy medium that I like. You know, it's an outdoor Old Masters stain. So, and underneath the cedars, we'd put a felt that they require, and then you know, we'd finish it out all the places that it's black around all the windows, both windows, and in between there. So it's all finished out really nice in the cedar. Yeah, that looks. You know, and then we use a galvanized nail, which we have, and then you know, the gun that shoots them. So this is what you know, this is not cheap stuff. This is very dressy, you know, and I see it everywhere in town. So this is what I'm proposing to do.
Where? Or give us a-
Around that whole black,
Then just black.
around both windows, all the black area.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, you know, we'll come up with a color of paint for the white area around there, those two posts and the top part there, you know. But, you know, when I first bought the building, I tore every one of those vines down, right down to nothing. And they're already taken over again. So you have to, oh, and then the wrought iron fence there, that iron fence there, that I'd like to have permission to paint that the black again. I don't know if I need a permit for that, but I'd like, it's needing some paint, which would really be sharp. So I don't know, you know, I don't know if I go the white, back to the white. I might, since the windows have a white trim, I might go with the white post and the, you know, but yeah. So you can see that this one's been stained. You know, it's kind of a happy medium between these two colors here. The whole building are these two colors of brick.
So this will all be brick, the shingle is just for example, to show us?
No, this is what I want to use to put on all that area there.
Not the bricks, but that?
No.
Not the
No,
bricks, okay.
yes. The bricks are fine, just the way they are. If any repair need to be in the bricks, the inspector's already let me know which bricks he wants.
Do we have an application for this?
She told me that I should.
Joe had come in yesterday to fill out an application, but with not having any, you know, site plans and such, I didn't feel that, you know, that was, he had taken home a blank application, but at this time, you know, we can have him fill out the application indicating what he's described. I'm taking notes, but I do not have, you know, in writing what he is proposing.
So I'm new. Hi.
Hi.
I'm not sure how you all have had these discussions in the past, so let me know. Is it appropriate to maybe provide some suggestions about what might be an appropriate thing to do there? Or do we
Yeah.
just react to?
Yeah, most definitely.
It
And
sounds more like a conversation than an approval at this point.
yeah, and you can all correct me if I'm wrong. From what I understand, you know, these approvals are in a sense a negotiation to see what is going to be the most historically fitting, but also what's, you know, feasible within reason for the property owner. But ultimately, you know, your goal is to have something that's the most historically appropriate for, you know, this specific building, for the community and whatnot. But it does, in a sense, kind of turn into somewhat of a negotiation, but ultimately you have the final approval.
Okay, so.
Does that sound correct to the commission? Okay.
So, I guess as a conversational thing, these were originally probably an entrance with windows on either side. That's what we're looking at.
Plate glass windows.
Okay.
Yes.
So to fill with a shingle or a slate or the wood, just that doesn't replicate a window look. I think that's probably my primary concern with this. It would almost seem like keeping the plywood there and then painting it something that's maybe a lighter color that seems more window-like might
Or putting
be-
historically appropriate windows in.
Which, you know, if that's affordable, and if not, you know, there's always a what can you do until, but putting something in and spending a bunch of money on something that's ultimately not really appropriate doesn't make sense.
Have you thought about using like 10-inch lap siding with a 8-inch reveal? Oh, regular 10-inch cedar laps, you know, regular lap siding,
Yeah.
and with a 10-inch, instead of using those.
That was gonna be my next, thing to tell you that this cedar can also be long pieces that would be lap siding. I can do it that way too, if you don't like, because this gets wider down here like regular. I kind of like it'd be just as expensive as cedar to have full sheets of, this comes in 18-inch length by 6 by 12, you know, so, and then the overlap, like you say, would come in 6-inch by the length you need and just overlap it, so have them go in the long.
Yeah, use a 10-inch and have like an 8-inch reveal.
I would be up to that too. That was gonna be my next.
If it's the same price, that'd be a lot quicker for you because you tack up, well, if you cut the length and tack up, you're running a straight edge to edge there.
Yeah, you're right, yeah, but
Instead of individual shingles, you know, it looks like, what, about 6 feet, 6 feet, 6 feet? Am I close?
yeah, you're very, yeah, it's about 160, yeah.
You get probably 18 footers, you cut them into threes and you've already got the whole one board going
I
across.
got all that down here too.
But again, it
Exactly what-
sounds like that's a
exactly-
siding infill of a window.
Well, the issue is, we don't want to reconstruct a window that was there. I mean, if we blocked off where we're at, what would you put there to make it look like a window when there's no window there? It
Plate
doesn't-
glass.
Pardon me?
Plate glass windows reframed
These?
to be more historically accurate.
Yeah, those
We're
are-
talking about
those
these
are-
two?
those are-
Replacing the windows, yes.
Replacing the windows? That's what you're talking about?
That would
I don't
make
make
it
any decisions with this.
historically
This is the commission only
accurate.
making these
Windows are
decisions.
appropriate.
So that's where we're at now.
But we don't have any application or any plans to even approve. And the last time we discussed this, the last 2 times we've discussed this since I was here, is the commission would like this to be historically accurate.
I mean, the windows are the best money can buy,
It's
and,
not a matter of quality, Joe.
I mean,
It's a matter of style.
In size.
It's a matter of whether that's an appropriate thing for that building. And, you know, it doesn't come close to, you know, what was there originally or what would be appropriate for that building.
Are those mullions encased in double pane? Is that what they are?
it's,
Mullions inside there, are they encased in the double pane or are they set on the outside or inside? If you got double pane glass, I'm assuming that's what those windows are.
I don't, the
Are they
contract.
grid that's been put in, or are those
Yeah.
actual divided lights?
Yeah, it's a grid in between the, you know, you can't touch the grid, let's put it that way. It's in between the glass.
I'm not,
Here, I'll tell you. You see these grids here,
yes,
the dividers?
oh yeah.
Then are they sitting outside the glass or sandwiched in between 2 panes?
I think they're, sitting outside the glass. I'm not sure.
Well, I think we brought this up when we first discussed this, about just removing the grids to make it easy, and
It's
then,
closer.
right, and then you'd have plate glass windows, which a lot of businesses down the street have, just solid big glass.
I'd be glad to do that. instead of- 'cause
Pardon me?
I'd be glad to do that.
Yeah,
Because,
I think we, that's what we talked about.
because
If that would,
when I did these glasses, you know, I think I let somebody know, but, I told them that, you know, the next step was to be doing all the framework, which had to be done by the inspector of double thickness 2x6s.
Right.
And then 2x6s all the way to the, and then double, what do you call, plasterboard in that whole area.
But I understand you did this without a permit, correct? And here you stand before us without an application for a permit again. So I'm hesitant to approve anything verbally unless we have something in writing.
Yeah, I don't think there's an approval tonight, even on the table. This is more of a.
Okay, so-
With some better ideas.
So we're not even on this part, we're back to the windows. Okay,
We're back to the whole thing,
okay,
to try to restore that to something appropriate for that period of time and what was there before.
okay, so,
And
You were supposed to come to us today with a permit, or it was going to go to
Yeah.
to the city attorney. That's how I
next,
understood
yeah,
it.
the next step would be a circuit court order. And I think the commission is, you know, at this point in time, they're really struggling with, you know, the fact that these windows were installed without an application. I don't think that these windows are something that they would have approved originally. So now trying to patch up what exists and make it historically appropriate as opposed to, you know, just starting over. I think that's really what the commission is trying to decide at this point. You know, they want to work with you and try to make what exists work, but ultimately, I don't believe that this window would have been approved originally. So it is difficult for the commission to work with what exists when they very well may have not originally approved anything in this fashion. So that's kind of where things are at this point.
But given where we're at and what you've done, at least I'd still like to work with you to try to find a way to make this work. But the only way I can do that is if I could see a visual of how this would look with the siding long as Dennis suggested, or the shingles, or whatever. I'd like to see a permit application with that detail so I could see what it's gonna look like, rather than just trying to envision it, what you have, and see if we can work with you so that those windows can be maintained.
what do we think about, anybody here about taking out the grids? Would we approve that if we, a total plate glass, so we can decide where he could go with it? Let's put it that way.
I think so, but again, it's hard to visualize what it would be like. If you could give us a drawing of what it would look like when it's completed to the way you are proposing.
But if we know that those were windows originally, and the window openings are the size that whole area of black is showing on either side of what used to probably be a doorway, the windows aren't the right size, and I think that's one
Oh,
of the
that's-
things in the ordinances, they're simply not the right size.
Well,
no, the windows are the right size, that's the exact size of the opening of the brick in there, exactly how it was, that's
So
no,
they weren't enlarged or made smaller?
huh?
They weren't enlarged or made smaller by you, that was the size that you had?
Yep.
But the lintel and the sill suggest that it was indeed a much larger window originally. So
No, no.
We do have a storm
Okay.
photo
That would be-
that's been shown before.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been here for, ever since I've been on the commission, we keep talking about this and we never have a permit.
Well,
These posts are here, how come the one bigger?
So the window would have filled that entire area on both of these sides, and then this would have been an entrance.
Probably a transom.
It was an entrance.
And Angie, I did not include, we do have original photos of this, and because, yes, I was gonna say that, I can email them to you. The rest of the commission has seen them a couple times, but I will make sure that you get the original photos as well.
Also, you're saying they put a transom window up top there, above these then?
That's my
That's
recollection
possible.
of this. You can tell from the original photo that we've seen.
Yeah, and then maybe come up with some sort of trim feature underneath, fill in the rest of that space, which.
But it's not up to us to write his permit or plan for him. He needs to come to us with a plan,
I understand.
so.
That's, I understand that, but I think we were talking about that, let's try to be helpful and come up with some things that they could look at, so.
Well, that's what I'm suggesting, is he needs to come back to us with a
He's
permit
coming.
application with drawings and details so we can see what it's gonna look like.
For the last 2 months, we've asked him to do that, and we've asked him to come back with a historically accurate plan. And here we are again without any of that for the third month that I've been here. So, I don't know. Are we gonna move forward with this?
Do you
Not without a
know,
permit application, no.
do you know for sure if you can take those white pieces out, or is it like Dennis said, is it possible they're built in the window?
I'm gonna find out, that's the first thing I'm gonna find out.
Yeah, because that makes a whole big difference.
That makes a whole big difference,
Yeah,
otherwise.
you're talking about a whole different.
I was trying to make it easy that we could take the mullins out, at least we're closer to a twin glass anyway. Which
Yeah.
a lot of the stores have a big window in
Right.
front. Nothing is you personally, do you feel comfortable that you can draw something up?
Yeah,
Okay. To show what we're asking for? All right. That's, just to make sure that, you know what we want and, what we're looking for.
so what, I mean,
So I have a concern because at the July 6th meeting, a motion was made that the windows should be brought up to historical standards by September 7th, or it goes to circuit court. So as a commission, where are we at with that? We already made a motion and it passed. And it is it the 7th? Yes.
Well, Joe is here trying to find,
I think that's clear what the motion said.
I do too.
Yeah, I mean, the commission could move forward with, with that at this time, or could look to extend that deadline with the applicant being here, but that's entirely up to you guys.
well, I'm gonna make a motion, we extend the deadline for to the next scheduled meeting of the committee, to give him a chance to draw some more drawings. I know we've been very generous with extending before and lenient, but I'd like to work with him, see if we can find some solution.
okay, I have a question. So, you want me to draw something up?
We have a motion on the floor right now.
I would support that motion.
I second,
It's been moved and supported that we extend
The deadline for,
how long?
until our next scheduled meeting, which date is October,
Yes, the first
The October
Wednesday of
meeting.
October.
the date of the October meeting.
Next meeting? Any more discussion?
5th.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed? Nay.
Noted that Kathleen is opposed. Joe, have you ever thought about going to a designer or architect and have them take a look at this?
I've contacted, people out of Ludington. I've got blueprints by them and all these regulations and stuff. They give me the stamp approval, the one before it goes to the, inspector. What's the name? of the company?
Specs, yeah.
Ludington.
But has anyone taken a look at this area and tried to come up with a design that would be more historically appropriate?
So,
I know that Spicer has an architect on staff, and I think Apple Martin does as well. Plus the fact that Ed Kriskowitz would do something like that. There are people in our community who maybe even if we wanted to get a little more off base. Lisa Rosemerick, who's a native of Manistee and is a historic architect in New York and works with historic buildings all the time, and her father works with a museum here. She might be able to just give you some kind of a sketch that we could work with. If you stopped in at the museum, you'd likely find your father there.
Or if you filled out the application, the plans that you have from the Luddington company, you could make part of the application. Because it sounds like you already have drawings, right?
Oh, yeah, blueprints and,
And Lisa is familiar with this building, so if she was willing to do it and had the time to do it,
Yeah,
it might be
I would need her number and to meet her.
like I said, if you stopped in at the museum,
Oh, the museum, she's there?
I know he works there.
Okay.
And if, or ask Mark, Mark
She
would have
lives
his
in New
phone.
York, oh, I'm sorry.
What?
She lives in New York City, Joe, and I could give you her email address and her telephone number, if you would want me to do that. And then, all depending on what her work schedule is, she works a full-time job as well. So
All right.
she would have to love for Manistee.
But I still have one very important question here, which is, so you want this drawing, maybe some professional help here. This transom thing, because I'm gonna tell you, right where that top of that window is, from that point up to the other brick, it is 2 layers of bricks, original, up there. And so I don't see anything there that was a transom inside my building. I mean,
I have a thought. I don't know if
so
this is.
if you want a transom there, I'd have to knock out.
What we want is something that's historically appropriate.
Would the commission-
The thought really
Oops, sorry.
is just that the transom windows are very common in this period of time, and, I don't know whether that's something that could be done, or.
Or maybe the brick is exposed.
That's what I was just gonna recommend, that maybe the commission would be open to it.
No, because he
being
hasn't brought any plans
restored.
to us.
Right.
If you took the front of that plywood off above the 2 windows now, or whatever you have there, would you see the exposed brick? Is that what you would see if you take that off of there?
You probably would, wouldn't you? Should. But
Is that brick original, or is that something that was done afterwards?
that plywood, that.
Brick. Do you think the brick has been there originally?
I do think, I mean, I'm seeing it from the inside, and it's nothing different than all the rest of the old brick. It looks,
I don't know if we can, I don't know if we can make him put in transits, really, if that's the original that was there.
Let's not get hung up on transom. I mean, what
Yeah.
we want is something that's historically appropriate. It's just that transom windows were common in that area, whether there was one ever there in the first place, I don't know. If removing the plywood takes it back to original, that's one of the solutions that we might come up with, is removing the plywood, going back to original brick. But, unless we have something to deal with, some sort of plan, some application, some description of what's going to be done.
Can't do anything.
We really can't deal with it, And I don't think any of us here are architects. I know that Dennis is a builder, and he, from that point of view, he understands the whole thing, but you understand, Joe, where we're
do.
coming from?
I don't think you're gonna find brick behind the middle portion. Maybe the top part.
No, because that was stairs down into the building.
Yeah. There was actually stairs, that was all stairs that went down.
To
you
the
know.
entrance.
Yeah, so it's all been covered with a sidewalk now. Because actually, the inside of my building, when you're standing up on the inside of my building, you're barely seeing out of the bottom 2 windows. So my building is like way down lower than that sidewalk, way down lower, way. I'll try to see if those are not, so if they're not, then I gotta get over to somewhere and purchase new windows that are, right?
Maybe.
Maybe, I don't think we've said that. I want to work with you, but we've got to have a drawing. We've got to have something that, application on drawing.
Those will work That's
Yeah.
great.
Drawing first, get it okay, then move on.
So I think, just to recap, at this point in time, I don't think the commission is open to the idea of siding in this area. They'd like to see, you work with the museum and any resources that they have there to come up with a drawing, a tangible plan that will show something that you feel is the most feasible and historically accurate to your building. And it sounds like that may involve, keeping the original windows, looking at those grids if that can be removed. And then, figuring out what exactly you're going to do with the plywood areas. I think the commission, if you came in with a plan, it sounds like they may be open to a plan that includes these windows that you have, but they want to see it all as one piece and, what this will look like as a finished product in order for them to move forward.
So if I came up with a drawing with the cedar going this way and the windows with no panes on there, would that be a start?
I think that would
She's
be a
saying no,
start,
I'm saying yes.
but I don't think
The
that
cedar-
they
the
don't
cedar
want to
doesn't-
see that portion of the building sided, because I don't believe it was ever originally sided.
It needs to be historically accurate as close as possible.
I think your first steps are gonna be taking a look at those windows, seeing if you can get the grids removed, and getting behind that plywood, seeing because if you could restore, what exists behind the plywood, that would be historically accurate and something that you could show the commission. But it sounds like siding is not necessarily an option that they're gonna go for at this time.
So when you stay back to original, does that mean the door there too?
Well, that's definitely part of it.
Tearing out the whole,
Joe, it's for you to propose what you think is the most viable way of making this historically acceptable, not necessarily identical to what it had been, but so it's acceptable within the range of what the historical district is trying to accomplish.
And I guess,
The pillars are part of that whole historical aspect of the side of the building. And even though the doorway is not there, what do you propose you would do with the pillars to enhance what was historically there?
and I guess I do have a question with the existing plywood. I get, it's just towing the line of if that plywood has existed, I don't know that we really have the authority to come in and make him, completely replace that. I think the sides with the windows, since that was installed without a permit, can be addressed, but the center portion, if that's how it's existed for some time and you're not making any modification to that portion, he may have some protection there that portion of the building wasn't touched. So I don't know that we can make him do anything with that portion. But I do believe that the portions with the windows should be addressed. And that's something, of course, we'd like to see it all,
yeah.
uniform
Okay.
and looking good, but the fact that you haven't touched the center portion,
Right. That's a plus for me at the rate I'm going.
yeah. Because if it was any other portion of the building and they were only doing one section, we wouldn't necessarily make them bring the entirety of the building up to whatever specification.
I obviously need some help with this as far as some direction.
Yes.
So I'll have to find some help and let them give you the drawings, because I'm definitely not capable of what, I'm good at my.
Photos of the way it used to look.
Yeah, I can most definitely send those. And I have Joe's email address. Is that okay? Yeah, good.
And your cooperation would go a long way for our cooperation also. I mean, it's important that we continue to communicate. And we need an application.
Joe, what exactly, I might have missed something. What happened behind that middle section? There was a stairway and they just closed it off? There's like a open space that drops straight down?
Apparently this.
Yeah, it's filled in
And
with.
then the stairway got cemented over?
Yeah,
So when you're inside the store, it just drops right straight down? What used to be an entryway is no longer.
Yeah, so the entryway wasn't actually inside the building. The entryway
Okay.
was outside going down until you got
Oh, I
down the
see.
downstairs, and then you were at my level, and then you come in.
So it's gonna be virtually impossible to
Right.
make that building look like it looks.
Right,
So we gotta deal, like Bill was saying, we gotta deal with something else here.
right.
I mean, otherwise, it's not gonna
It's-
happen.
I can sit here and spin my wheels
But
all.
there's nothing more that we can do on this at this point. We need something that, some drawings and an application that we can deal with. And I think we've given you some pointers about where to go and what we might talk to on this. And it's been extended for another month, so moving on with no activity except the extension. We're at the permit review.
And Joe, I can include in that email with the historic photos a nice recap for you where, what your next steps are gonna be, okay? Okay. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for being here, and remember the date is gonna be here
October
quickly.
5th. Yes. Yes, October 5th.
You're gonna have to just record it. I will be here.
Oh, yeah. that's
Does he
fine.
need his bricks?
Figure it out. What's that? Oh, yes. We'll make
Bricks.
sure he takes his breaks.
I give him his bricks back.
I'll shoot it over to you.
Right here, this is.
So hopping into permit review here, I did get an update from the city attorney on our Gordon and Rosmeric properties. At their hearing in circuit court for the show cause, the property owners, I should say, requested an extension, and that was granted by the judge. So they're going back before the judge. I believe I think it is like October 4th or October 5th. Yeah, they were granted a month extension on that one. And then the library, I believe that one is still in progress. Every time I walk by, it's hard for me to tell. Okay,
They are still, I think the contract was supposed to start at some point in time with it, but I'm on the board there. I'll make sure that they
Okay.
apply for it.
and then the Bluefish, I had not reached out to them yet regarding their dumpster enclosure, but you will see that Guardian Angels Church was taken off of the permit list with their permit having lapsed. I did reach out to the church and let them know as much, and the point of contact there said that she would bring it to the board or however the church operates, and that they would get in a new application when they were ready. And then we have Fricano's, their new facade. It appears complete to me. I think it looks great. They have the garage door that you guys were looking for. I think that's all very fitting for the downtown streetscape. 369.
I'm happy they seem to take our suggestions, you know, and not much change. It pretty much looks the same as it did before, but that's what we approved, so,
Yeah.
That was before I was here.
yeah.
Yeah, and I know they did have just the regular metal rolling door for a little bit, and putting in that more carriage style door really does make such a difference right there. And then for 369 River, they're still working on painting the building, still just minor, you know, like trim painting, it looks like. And then, yeah, the library, I think these two permits were kind of one and the same that they
Yeah,
applied for last year.
Yeah, thinking that about,
Uh-huh.
looking at that now, I think that they are the one and the same. 'Cause
Yep.
That step repair also falls under that maintenance and repair.
Yep,
So I think it's probably safe to scratch out that first one.
and then the second permit just encompasses all of it.
I believe it was described in that,
Okay.
second permit.
Yep, and then we have 321 River, they have not started anything yet, and 432 River, the Elks Club, they have not put their sign in yet. And then next month, you'll see a couple more signs on here, as well as the permit that was approved for 100 Washington.
Moving on, public comments and communication concerning items
Lee,
not on the
I had a
agenda.
question on the permits. Does Lee, you were here, I know, and Dennis, maybe you, Northern Hotel came to us about a year and a half ago maybe, and made a we want to get started right away on a project that I think we approved and created a permit for it. Maybe it's lapsed, maybe that's why it's not on here, but I just wondered if the Northern Hotel is still something we're following, or is that a dead issue?
That was last September.
Huh?
Okay, so that would have been before my time. When I had originally started reviewing this permit form, I did like run the report in our permitting system, and I didn't see anything in there for 141 Washington. But I can double check if there was something approved for them. I know that their special use permit for the development has actually not been signed yet.
It was
So I
definitely
think,
a permit. In fact, they even brought their architect up from Chicago. Remember, it became a snowstorm? He just got
Okay.
here in time.
Maybe, yeah, was that earlier this year, or was that?
I think it
last-
was last year.
Yeah?
And-
Okay.
And I know he issued a permit, and maybe it's just expired and doesn't belong on there anymore. But
and I'll make sure that permit actually made it in the system as well. If it didn't, I'll track back and I'll look at the September meeting minutes and track that one down and make sure to have that information for you. I know that things have been a little bit slower with the Northern Hotel. I think that they're working on funding sources and stuff. So as far as their land use permitting, it has, I haven't really heard from them on that. So, yeah, but I'll look into that one and make sure
second
it's
thing I
included.
noticed here was just that we approved last month, maybe it's just that quickly, but the Olds dealership, Ed.
Yes, that one will be on here next month. Yep. That, and then the goodies sign I'll include on here, even though that's complete. And then I have one more. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of another sign application. It's not in the HGC, so it'll be those two. And if we get any others, I'm so used to any sign, just HGC, but no.
Wasn't Elks a sign application though too?
Yes, the Elks. Yep, they sign application and yeah, the certificate of appropriateness. Yep, so we'll have for sure 2 more permits included on this list next month.
Anything else on permit review? Public comments and communications concerning items not on the agenda.
No communications.
Correspondence. BA, not here. Museum curator.
I just want to briefly mention, some time ago, I spoke about the project we were doing with the museum and the visitor center and the Little River Band, and the product is finally here and hot off the press, or a portion of it is, and I want to give everyone a copy of it.
It's very well done, Mark. Thank you for all the work you put
Yes,
into
well,
that.
I was going to mention, I was going to bring you up too, Catherine, so let me get back to my podium over there. Anthony, did you get one?
No, I didn't.
All right, there you go, you'll put you to sleep at night, so. Of course, this is a project, as I mentioned, we work with the 3 entities. Catherine is a big proponent of this, and she kind of gave the historic sites thing a kind of a kick in the butt several years ago to kind of help us promote these beauties, these treasures that we have here in the history of Manistee. And this is built, and she was very vocal in making sure that happened, and played a big part in making sure that these historic sites don't go unnoticed. And so this is like the 3rd iteration of this, and was done via a grant through the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and this is just one component of this. There will also be an Origins walk, which I've briefly mentioned before, which will be at First Street Beach, and I believe the dedication of that is planning to be in mid-October. But thank you for always promoting Manistee and its history, and also Lee's beautiful, wonderful daughter, Tony, played a big role in helping out with the videos for the 2nd iteration of the previous one. She lent her talents to narrating all the several historic videos, which are also a component of this book with the QR codes. So it's always been a team effort, and we're very excited about the Little River Band of Ottawa Indians playing a role, telling their story in this book, because they are a very important part of our history. And I think it turned out very good, and something that we can be proud of with the history of our community. So anyways, enjoy, and I guess that's all I gotta say, so.
Thank you.
Did you
Mark.
mention how these would be distributed?
These will be distributed at the visitor center, and as well as at the museum, and probably a couple other select locations and shops. And once again, they're all free to the public, and free visitors, traveling around and want to know more about our history. So that's how they'll mainly be distributed.
They may be at the MDOT welcome centers.
Yeah, probably something. Yeah, I would imagine something like
People
that.
can order them by mail.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're looking for places, I'm sure the planning department would be open to we get a lot of,
Oh yeah.
people in and out,
people.
so.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you haven't been online to see the historic video series narrated by Tony Trucks, I highly recommend it. There's 25 videos.
Online where?
Very good.
Visit ManisteeCounty.com.
Visit
Is it
ManisteeCounty.com.
ManisteeCounty.com?
Yeah, I'm sure the website's on here somewhere. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. Yeah.
None of that could have happened without the knowledge and experience and the sharing of Mark's information from the museum.
Thank you so much.
Okay, planning and zoning administrator.
I do not have a whole lot for updates. I guess I did kind of update on the Gordon Rons Merrick properties during our permit review. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully I'll have something more for you in October. I did want to just let the commission know that we presented to city council last night. No one's attendance would be expected, but council liked the presentation. I just kind of went through permits and the tax credits that are available at the state and federal level, why we have a historic district and why we have the commission. So yes, they were receptive of the presentation. It was just kind of an annual update, and then Mark did one on the museum, so that went well. Yep.
Thank you for doing that. Because I think sometimes people forget, why does the Historic District Commission exist?
Right, and that's
And right
what I wanted to
now,
get into.
We have three of our owners have applied for a grant for up to $100,000 from the State Historic Preservation Office.
Who's the third?
That's a 427 water.
The Ramsdale?
Okay, Ramsdale, and then,
I think there's, did the Ramsdale?
The Ramsdale applied
Well,
one?
then there was before.
Okay.
I know that the Ramsdale, Ed, Chriswich,
Paulette,
and then Rebecca and Brian Shea, who have the old Michigan Valley.
oh, they're going for it?
Oh,
Okay,
good.
cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes. And there's $700,000 in this grant round. But if we were not a historic district, that money would not be available to us. And, Mr. Mathewson has that opportunity himself to apply for a grant to bring his building closer to historic standards. And, we have to remember that if we lose our district, we lose all of that. I think it's important.
The river. Apparently, the county has hired a
Grant writer.
grant writer.
Yes.
That grant writer should be available to us.
I don't believe so. I don't believe it's available to the local units of government. I think the idea is kind of that the county is trying it out with, the county the county board, I should say, has projects that they've laid out for this position. It's, I believe, a 6-month position. Is that correct, Nancy? Contracted?
6 months and it's in-house.
Yeah, to see how it goes. And then, I think Jeff Dantz, the county board chairman, when he was at Onekama Township's board meeting kind of presenting this information, the idea that he had was that if this works out at the county level and the local units see a benefit, they could look to have a contract with the grant writer as well. But at this...
Townships in the city, not necessarily individual property owners like in the historic district.
Right.
Vanessa Booz is still writing grant applications.
I have no idea.
If Vanessa still writes grants,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure she
I
could.
think once you
don't
write a
know.
grant, you can always be a grant.
Right, yeah.
I don't think it's something
I know
that goes
Vanessa's
away.
always up to her eyeballs and everything.
Maybe retired, I don't.
She still works for Habitat.
What?
Vanessa works for Habitat, or with Habitat for Humanity. Yeah, I'm not sure honestly, I'm not sure what her exact title is, but she is typically my point of contact whenever I'm reaching out to Habitat for Humanity.
Okay. We had a presentation about some statues that were going in.
The Founders Walk?
Statues?
Yeah, that's not particularly statues, more of a sculptures. Those will be going around, be called the Origins Walk, Founders Walk. And those will be going along First Street in Douglas Park. Those will hopefully be put in sometime before middle of October, the dedication happening on October 13th. That's the second component of this grant from the USDA. Watch your local newspaper for details, I guess, so, and Facebook too. So.
Look every time I go down there.
So, yeah, I'll be honest.
Well, Whitmer stated at 50,000 for the
For the
Riverwalk.
Riverwalk, yes. Very nice.
Yeah, that was announced last night at city council that the Riverwalk, I believe, yeah, what, did you say 850? Yep, 850 for the Riverwalk, which is just awesome.
Mark, I have a quick question.
Yes.
This project.
Yes.
Do we have any pictures of that?
The only picture that I could find of that project that I know of is a picture I've shared before that was taken during the January 1978 snowstorm. And it's taken from the parking lot across the street, looking kind of at a wide shot of that whole entire opening there, entrance. And it obviously shows the opening that we've been talking about. The doorway, I think there might have been transoms on there. I don't remember. I haven't seen the picture in a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know. We have to look at it again. But yeah, it obviously shows that, and it's been there for quite a long time. Obviously more than 50 years. So, yeah.
It's too bad we don't have better pictures. Of
And I've
I mean, that's what I was getting to. If we
Yeah.
don't really have a good picture, or at least somewhat of a picture, I mean, how do we tell somebody what we want, when there's nothing to
It's
see?
pretty good.
it shows.
pretty good.
It's taken at a wide view, but it's pretty obvious.
It's very obvious.
Yeah, it encompasses what was there.
But the transoms or the opening?
Both.
The windows, the doorway. I think there might have been transoms. I've got to look at it again.
Basically, we're talking about glass though, not cedar shake siding.
No, nothing of the sort. No.
My point
If
being,
I remember correctly, I think the transoms were covered with signage. for
Yeah.
the Club or something.
Yes. Yeah. You might be right. Yeah. I kind of think so. Yeah. But yeah, this is a tough one.
I mean, I'm just thinking, if they did brick those over like he says, and he's correct,
Yeah.
You're talking some major renovation there.
Yeah. That's the thing.
We just need something from him.
Yeah. I think I want to say that it was bricked over, but I don't know. I don't remember all the details of.
Well, again, though, that's my point, though, what do we tell them we want? If it was bricked over in 1912 and said the windows were in 1910, how are we gonna tell,
Well, there's-
what that's gonna be on,
there's-
put
there-
windows up there? And yet it was bricked over 2 years after.
But
it's-
the plate glass windows below, and if it was brick, could be all returned to that, the plate glass windows in the brick transom.
What's the period of
Well,
significance?
I'm just saying though, but if he's saying that he thinks the picture shows transoms, correct?
I think
Okay.
yeah, we have to look
I'm
at it
saying
again.
If they do, how are we gonna, and yet they were bricked over 2 years after the picture was taken, well, how are we gonna tell them to
What's-
take that all out of there then?
Sorry.
That's-
what's-
Oh, no, go ahead,
What's
Andrew.
the period of significance for this district?
For this district or for this building?
It's
Yeah,
1880s.
I mean, it's on the National Register, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and
Yeah.
are you using that as your kind of like your stand, and generally it's not a 1 year, you generally get a.
No, there's a range, late 1870s through,
1920, 1930?
taken in with the Vogue, I would go 1938, 1940.
Okay, so that then is your answer to that
The-
question, is it something that could have been done
This-
before the end of the period of significance?
So which way are we gonna
Well,
tell
it
them to go?
includes
If we have a
the
picture that shows transom.
Yeah,
Built-
1950s, yeah.
Bricked over, and, from what I see, it looks like original brick matches the building. Well, who's gonna be correct to say, take them out, we want transoms? You're talking about going from exposing brick and taking off plywood and cleaning it up versus some major
Well,
structural
the
work.
picture was taken in the 70s.
Picture was taken in 78, yeah.
So,
You haven't seen the picture yet, but I have.
Oh, I thought you said the picture was from 1910 or something.
No,
No.
picture's taken 1978.
1978.
so,
Oh, and so there were transoms there.
No.
Possibly.
I don't
Possibly.
really remember. I'd have to look at the picture again, and I don't have a copy of it.
I remember going to the Q Club.
so the easiest and cheapest thing that he could do as an applicant is take out the windows and put the plywood back in, and we're done, because in that case, he hasn't made a change. We don't have to make him do
True.
more. But what he did isn't right, so he has to fix it. So, you know, so if when all else fails, we just say, take out the windows and
Board it back up.
board it back up, you know, all the same color, so it's all one, you know, one void.
And personally, I hope it doesn't come to that. It might. I think there needs to be some conversation about the difference between,
Ask him to bring it back to historical standards,
Well-
including the pillars.
we need to have a conversation, I think. I think Lee has said this in the past. Our objective is to be historically acceptable, not accurate necessarily. They could be the same thing. But you could come up with something that was historically acceptable. Looks like other buildings did in the area, or like this building did, but it's not exactly the same.
There are specific guidelines, Bill.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, there are.
There are
But I
specific
think that's what I'm
guidelines.
saying, that, you know, we don't have to be historically accurate the way it was, just so it is in the Victorian period, it could have been.
Yeah.
Because if we start doing that, you know, you're talking people do major renovation, who knows what's.
But it's not up to us to come up with the plan, it's up to the building owner.
Agree.
And he's
Agree.
not come-
Agree.
Well, I'm trying to look
Agree.
at what we approve, so we don't drag this on forever.
It's
So what is,
too late for that.
We're already into
We're
forever.
already forever.
345 dozen,
So-
346.
So
You know, if I was Joe, I might just say, oh, okay, I'll just leave it the way it is. You cite me with a violation.
Oh, well, great, I mean, I'm
And
not.
we can't fine him. We don't have any ability to fine him or anything like that.
Ooh, there's no teeth in the ordinance?
I think there is.
No, he, once,
He would have to
after
go
this
before the
point,
judge.
you would take a circuit court order and it would go to circuit court and it would be handled in the court. So, that is
We don't have the ability to fine anybody.
No, but the court does.
the court
We can
does.
cite him for a violation.
Right.
But-
Yeah, you cannot impose a fine, I guess. You're correct. You cannot impose a specific fine as this
We've
commission.
discussed that at various points over the last few years about whether or not we should have a fine for people who, you know, for instance, Jeff Gordon and Paula Rosemerick, who continue on for 20 years on a project, but we don't have any way to do that.
Someone pointed that out to me over the weekend. Sorry, is it just, they're very slowly painting the window and it just keeps going on and on over time?
Actually, they've rebuilt all of the window frames and they're gorgeous.
They're doing a good job
Yeah.
with it.
But
What they finished is fine.
Yeah.
It's frustrating that it's taken 20 years.
Right. So,
Can we move on with this? We're almost up to 5 o'clock.
Yep, good idea.
Any more comments from
Uh,
board members? for-
Lee, just
Yes.
mentioning, I will be absent at the October meeting, which you probably all glad to know.
I do, I would like to have
Yeah.
a discussion
Yeah, no
or
problem.
bring it up.
Thank you for letting me know.
Future discussion about whether it's appropriate or not for the historic district to consider large-scale murals on our non-contributing historic buildings. There, I
We
know there's a
actually.
committee and a
we
movement
actually
out
passed
there.
Something have a policy on murals.
Yes.
Is it possible to have that policy shared with the commission? Because I don't know what it is.
Could you dig that up?
Yes, guidelines for murals.
Back in our minutes and
Yeah, no, I actually recently located that document and made sure that it was finalized because I had economic development inquiring about murals. I don't think that was, I'm sorry, I missed your question.
So would it be appropriate for us to consider murals on non-contributing buildings in the historic district? Because I know there's a committee that's looking for buildings to do some murals on. They're looking outside of the district. I said I would ask if non-contributing, because not all of our buildings are historic and
Right.
contribute, but they're in the district. And what would be the commission's?
I think the part of the policy they can remember is we okayed murals if they reflect the time period. Which
But
there was advertisement for products and, like that, like FW Woolworths or something, you could do something like that. It just couldn't be anything modern or newer. It would have to, that period oriented, I think, is what we decided, and reflect the Victorian era as far as a mural goes.
We passed a
I think that's part of it.
policy. I think we should just go with that, and if we want to alter that policy, we could discuss that.
Yeah, and I can take a better look at the guidelines, but off the top of my head, I don't think that the HTC would even have the authority to have any input on murals on non-contributing buildings. But then I'd also have to take a look at how murals would fit into zoning at that point, because it would be something that's not under the purview of the HTC, is not under the purview of the mural guidelines. And when we get into the semantics of zoning, a mural could be considered a sign, and you're only allowed so much dimensional signage under the zoning ordinance. So I can look at, that's a very good question as to how murals would affect non-contributing properties and what the permitting process might look like for those. Obviously it would still be nice if those murals, maybe as a courtesy came before the HGC to make sure they'd still be fitting with the overall feel of downtown. But my initial thought is that this commission actually wouldn't really have the authority over that, and it'd kind of be its own case. And I'm not sure, how murals might affect the non-contributing properties when I think about my signage regulations.
Standards, the Secretary of the Interior standards were put together. They were thinking about what's in the best interest of the building. And so if it's a structure that's brick that's not been painted, what is the effect of that paint on the brick? If it's a non-contributing building that has a different surface, it's just paint. Or it's already painted, it's
Right.
then- so you're no longer protecting the sanctity of the structure. You're just basically looking at your overall look and feel for your district. So lots of districts do allow murals.
That was something we discussed too. Remember, we said we couldn't do something to a building that hadn't been done. I think we covered that. What
Yeah, you guys
said.
buttoned up
If the brick
the-
was exposed and never painted, well, we're not gonna let you put a mural up on there and paint the brick, naturally. But if the brick if the building is some kind of material or painted, well, what's wrong with putting some kind of, I got a period mural, or we call it a mural, but a period signage, which they had back then.
Sure, but there's also non-contributing brick out there. There's non-contributing buildings that are not historic,
Concrete or
that happen to be in our district.
Well, those could be, again, if they're not contributing,
So
that,
specifically, I was thinking about the United Way building. It's a non-contributing building, it's brick, and it could potentially be a site for an attractive mural. Just thought that this commission would have something to share about it.
I'm gonna have to look at
You're bailing.
There are some
bailing out.
specific things in the guidelines for the historic district on murals, and my recollection is that we fudged those a little bit with the policy that we passed to allow some things that probably were arguable about whether that would be good in the historic district, but we need to go back to what that wording is in that policy and compare that with what the Department of Interior specified. Anything else?
Move to adjourn.
Thank you.
You